So today we're heading out to a pivot. We've had to make quite a few turns with them so far on this one, but luckily this past since Tuesday we've been getting some pretty decent rains on it. But before we got the rains, it got stuck and then it rained, which is fine. It's just I tried to push it through the silt. It's in one of the bottom areas, but it's just getting too deep. I went out there and tried to dig it once. I backed it up and tried to shove it back out, but what it's gonna need is some kind of filler in that track, and we used many different things. It just kind of depends what we have around. Something that's easier to do in season, especially on a four-wheeler, is to take cinder blocks and just pile them on the four-wheeler, drive it out there, throw them in the hole, and then usually that creates enough of a bottom that it'll shove that the tower will get enough traction off of it to send it through. But some of the other things we've done over the years is lava rock, crushed concrete, anything kind of hard. We've used other things. We tried wood chips before, and it kind of works. It just depends on what kind of situation you're in. But usually, like if it's deep in the season, cinder blocks is kind of what we choose, just because you can kind of situate it on your four-wheeler somewhat and then go from there. Also, I wanted to get it done today because it's a pretty nice day for summer. Next week it's supposed to get up into the upper 90s again, so getting this done will be nice. I wish it didn't happen in the first place, but here we are. Okay, the plan is drive down to the pivot, back it up since it can go in reverse, and get it out of its mess, or at least enough I can start dropping in some of these cinder blocks here. Pile these up, and then I'll come back out of the center point, pile these on, go around. Since this is a big pivot, I actually got to go to the north side, so it'll be maximum driving. I already got a little trail that goes to the spot because I was here a few days ago. Drop these in, and hopefully I locate them strategically enough that it should be able to catch enough traction to get going through it again. So we'll see if it works. Guys, quit sitting around. Like I need to put another coat of broadleaf killer on these things. So this guy's safetied out, and it's like 6 towers, 5 or 6 from the end. So he's gonna have a bow in him. So I'm gonna have to override the system for a little bit just to get it to here. This guy right here, override, go in reverse. So I'm gonna hold in on him so he knows to kind of override. But if you don't know for sure what's going on, you don't want to hold this for very long, because it will flip over the system, because it'll get so far out of whack it could come back around. Forgot to turn the water off. Well, that was awkward. I forgot to turn the water off, but this has kind of a delay on it to engage the water, so that's why it didn't kick off right away. But it's holding. Now I'm gonna go load up with bricks, head out there. like a rock. So this is kind of why I tell my father-in-law from Iowa not to buy a used four-wheeler from Nebraska. Can't say I didn't warn you guys. This spot right here doesn't get much water. It's kind of what it'd look like on those white clay hills if we didn't have irrigation. Pretty. Alright, let's kick her on the low side. Just for the record, I do not like doing this, but I'm not going to haul all these blocks in there 1 by 1 or 2 by 2 either. About 600 yards through corn. So that's why we do this. Or I do this. Not everybody does this. We're starting to get these big silt mounds. Hold on, I'm a little stuck. I should have rammed it. I'm high centered. Instead of chit chat next time, I'll try to make sure I make it over that. But that silt gets shoved out of that low spot in the bottom where it's wet. And they just, every round it shoves a little bit more up. Just creates that. And that's kind of what we're gonna deal with. Believe it or not, we made it. Yeah. See, it's like, oh, excuse me, man, I about fell over. See, you hit a point. See where that steep dip is right there? It's just like they hit a point and then they give out and then it goes up there. So I'm gonna try shutting off the pivot with my phone, but I have a feeling it's not gonna work. Oh, I might have signal. I don't know. I have 1 bar, but my LTE lost it. Okay. So I don't have signal and it's still moving. I kind of left it to go too fast, so I got to hurry this up a little bit so I don't let that walk too far out of the way. Yeah, so the water's still a little deeper than them, but hopefully that gets enough to shove it over all this stuff. But we gotta get going so it doesn't walk too far out the other way. Not that it hurt anything, it just makes more waiting time for me. Whew. Gnats. Another one. So kind of a terrible fact for you. You would think the first trip in the field when you got to run over the corn is the worst on the four-wheeler. Well, in my experience is when you're coming back out, because that corn is leaning pointed towards your four-wheeler on the way out, meaning your four-wheeler's going against it now. That's usually when it jams up inside of your undercarriage and gets wedged in there. And I've actually had it puncture a hole in my radiator in my last four-wheeler. So that's what you kind of got to watch out for if you can. Because that is not easy on these beasts. But neither would be walking in there 9 times with a block either. And you could take tractors and stuff, it's just, I just use my four-wheeler. Some guys will even take their sprayers, which is cool, but at the same time, it's kind of an expensive piece of machinery to be hauling stuff in too. Plus, I'd have a hard time telling my brothers, sorry, I destroyed our of some $1,000 sprayer just because I was a little lazy instead of my four-wheeler. So yeah, there's that option too. Still got one launched. Okay, this may not make much sense, but I'm gonna run the water with it. I'm fairly confident. Okay, so I'm fairly confident it'll make it through. If not, it's not the end of the world. But what water tends to do is make that silt more silty, more fine and runny, that it's easier for those tires to shove it out, especially in those bottom areas. Most of the time, I always feel like I gotta put abbreviation because I always get that one person, the way you do this. But like I said, this is most of the time. Adding water to that silt bottom helps a little bit to shove that out marginally. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna run it pretty fast and get it to where I usually start it. That way it kind of clears out those other maybe low spots, because there's another kind of gully up through here. Man. So yeah, so I'm gonna let it run and hope for the best, because it'll be a while and it'll alert me if it doesn't make it through. But some of the other things we got going on is doing a motor swap on another field. The motor didn't go bad, it's just going bad. It's starting to use a lot more oil. It still runs smooth. We had a gap here, and I wanted to switch it out sometime soon, just so I didn't have to deal with it later in the heat. So where it was kind of a cool down this week, thought that'd be a good thing to do, get done. And then also I still got a flat tire to fix on another pivot, which shouldn't be too hard. Maybe I'll get some video of that here later on the next one. But yeah, no guys, appreciate you tagging along, and we will catch you on the next one later. I guess if I can't cough out the fly, I will chase him down. It's a bit nutty.